All right, guys, welcome back to another episode of the Rock Your Brand podcast. Today, we are going to be giving ourselves a challenge. Chris and I are actually in the same location. He's just actually up in my home studio, which is upstairs, and I am downstairs in the main studio, and he's visiting for a few days. And we decided to give ourselves a challenge and try to find at least 3 products that are generating $3,000 per month. And we're going to basically try to do this in the next 30 minutes. And we're going to try to find the product in 10 minutes. So we'll give ourselves a little bit of time to discuss through what we're doing. So Chris, if you would pop on here and we can actually make sure that your connection is good, and then we can get rocking and rolling here. Well, there he is. There he is.
Well, hey there. Long time no see.
Yeah, I know it's only been like, I think, a minute. So, so what I want to do though, Chris, is I do want to just dive right in here. And I know people don't really care about us going back and forth and our little banter. But what I would like to do is really just open up the dashboard, dig through, show people also how you can really thumb through products using, I like to say, like, little hacks that we've developed using the filters and being able to kind of weed through and find these products. Now, I will say you're going to want to do this for your own niche, or if you're not doing it for your own niche and you just want to get ideas, you could do it for a bigger niche or a niche that you're not in. And then you can look at that and go, oh, that type of product is selling. I wonder if I can take a product or a design and put on that type of product. So that's really what I want to do here. All right. So with that being said, and if you guys have any suggestions for us as far as what niche you would like us to plug in, by all means, in the comments, drop it in there, let us know, and maybe we'll play around with that. All right. So we are going to be using Everbee. Chris and I are both huge fans of Everbee. And if you have not started using Everbee, I'm going to definitely recommend that you do. And Chris is going to throw a link up there, brandcreators.com/Everbee. And yes, you will buy us a cup of coffee if you go through that link, but we only recommend products that we're actually using. All right. So just to kind of throw it out there, we're not going to just say, oh, do this product because, or this tool because they're going to pay us a commission. No, that's not how it works. We have a lot of people that we could be, or a lot of companies we could be promoting, and we're just choosing Everbee because they're really good and we really like them. So Chris, are you ready? You ready to dive in?
We are. And Scott, I know you talked about products, right? You said we're going to find 3 products. Is there a particular niche that we are using, or do we just want to see any opportunity and then build a niche out of that?
Though I think that's going to be the fun, right? I think the fun is you and I have not planned this. This is totally kind of flying by the seat of our pants, as they say. And we're just going to see what happens. Now, I will probably explore some popular, niches that are out there, and we'll kind of learn from that. But that's why I would like it if some of you would put in the in the comments maybe a niche that you'd like us to explore, so we could totally do that. All right, so with that being said, Chris, let's go ahead and get into it, shall we? So I'm going to go ahead, and we're pulling up right now the product analytics, and this is the actual app. Okay, so if you are using the Everbee extension, the Chrome extension, you're basically going to be opening Etsy, and then you're going to be seeing a skin that kind of lies over top of everything, and you'll see some numbers underneath them. I think that's fine. I think this here allows us to do better searches as far as like filtering down to what we actually want. Now, last week here on our live stream, we went into the shop analyzer, which is really, really helpful. We might even play around with that again today. But I wanted to just jump into the product analytics, and I wanted to kind of show you our process. All right. And how we can kind of get to those numbers that we're looking for very, very quickly, instead of just looking at like all of the products, right? Because that could be like, well, it could be overwhelming, but it can also be misleading because you might have a shop that's been around for 7 years and that listing's been around for 7 years and they're dominating that product. And you might think, oh, cool, that thing's really selling, so I'm going to try to sell against them. There's actually a better way of doing this where we can kind of look at the competition at a little bit lower competition because they haven't been selling as long, or because the listing is younger, things like that. And so then we can really, really use the filters that are built in. So with that being said, if we were just looking at product analytics, like you said, Chris, we're just going to jump in here and we're like, all right, show us everything, right? So we're going to go in here and we're going to see everything, right? It's just kind of all thrown in to kind of like this big lump of like a whole bunch. And we can sort by monthly revenue, monthly sales, by price, total sales, reviews. And if we slide over, we get a lot more intel too. We get favorites, we get average reviews, average views, we get, or all the views, we get the category, number of tags being used. So, I mean, it's a lot, right? They're really, really unpacking conversion rate, digital listings. I mean, you can see there's a lot, right? A ton. So what I would do and what I want to do just to kind of kick things off here is I want to go in here and, well, okay, let's do this first, Chris. Let's scroll over here and let's say we did want to look at everything, but we're like, you know what? We want to look at shops that are only 18 months or newer. Okay. So what we're going to do is we're going to go to filter, and then we are going to look at where it says, like, usually what you're going to do here is you're going to scroll and you're going to see that little filter tab on top kind of hovers with you. So you have listing age. Okay. Or you can keep going and you'll get the shop age. So if we kind of keep coming over here, believe it's over here. I might have passed. Oh no, there it is. Shop age. Right. So if I wanted to just go, okay, let's just look at shop age max 18 months. So let's just put in 18. It's going to automatically update. And then we are going to see that these are all shops that are 18 months or less. Okay. And then we can start to play around and go, okay, now this is not per niche. This is just like all the products that are selling. And then I can sort here. I can say, okay, total sales. I'm going to sort by this. And this is saying, okay, there's 72,000 for this one right here. And this was personalized travel jewelry box. Okay. That's the product. So right off the bat there, you can go, okay, well, that one there is selling well, and it's 18. This shop is 18 months old. So if we want to get a little bit more intel on that, we can click here and then it'll pull this open and then we can see a little bit more. So it's had over a million views, 8,116. And it says right here, the listing age is 17 months. And let's see here, shop details. We can go right here and then it shows us 18 months, right? And like, if we look at this here a little bit further down, we can see this is the trend. Okay. So this is their sales trend that they've had. And then you can see also the tags that are being used, which is very helpful. Anything you want to add here, Chris, before we keep plowing through here?
Yeah, I think the biggest thing looking at this is if you're looking from the product standpoint, using it this way makes a lot of sense. And we get to see the sales and the revenue. And Scott, I know we talked about $1,000 products, yep, or products that can make $1,000 a month. Are you looking at that and seeing monthly revenue higher than 1,000, or are you looking at that from a profit perspective? So
yeah, that's a great question. So you and I talked a little bit before we got on here. We're like, you know what? Most people are like, I want to make $1,000 per month, right? And so for us, it's like, okay, let's kind of do some math here. And we just kind of threw out a number, you know, depending on how much the profit margin is, $3,000. You know, if you're doing $3,000, and you're netting 30% after all is said and done, that's just under, right, Chris? Just under $1,000, yeah, right?
We'd have to make 33%, but let's not be nitpicky 33% about it, because you and I like just using nice round numbers, right?
Yeah. So we're just gonna play with $3,000, and we're gonna say that that's gonna get us close to $1,000. Now, this is just for one product, right? And I'd like to know in the comments too, like, what is your target right now? Like, what would you want to walk away profit-wise and be realistic, right? I know there's going to be some people that'll be watching this maybe even later and being like, I want it to be $10,000. And you just started 30 days ago, right? Like, be realistic. Like, what's a number that you're like, if I can make, you know, $1,000 a month profit, or if I can make 3,000, like whatever it is, just drop it in the comments. I'm just curious to see where you guys are at. All right. But to refine this even more, Chris, what I would do is, now that we have this already kind of narrowed in on, okay, these shops are younger, because they're under 2 years old, 18 months.
Right. And that's
Okay?
the only filter we've put on this so far.
It's the only
right?
one. Yeah, it's the only one. And then if we go, okay, I'm not going to look at monthly sales. I'm going to look over here, monthly revenue. And I'm going to say, I want this to be, and I'm just going to say $3,000. This is going to be max. So I'm just saying, like, I only want to see the ones that have maxed out at $3,000. All right. So if we're looking here, well, I got to sort it again. Let me.
So to be clear, Scott, you put that in as the maximum, meaning they're selling less than $3,000 a month, correct?
3,000 or less. Yes.
Right.
So I'm going to show you how we can kind of play with this though. So some people be like, well, don't you want to see stuff that's more than that? Yes, but I also want to see people that are kind of like at that and under. But then what I could do is I can say, okay, let's do this. Let's say we want max revenue to be 10 grand and we want the minimum, as soon as that updates, we want the minimum to be $3,000. So now we're going to see that. See? So now, to your point, Chris, we're not limiting ourselves, but we're also not going to look at the stuff that's doing more than that, maybe, because we're like, if they're doing that much volume, it's going to be hard to compete, even if they are new. Right. And Chris, why would that be? Why would it be harder to compete with someone that's doing 10 grand or more versus someone that's doing between 3 and 10?
Yeah. So a lot of where the ranking would come in comes down to velocity, right? So if we're trying to take a share of that, and there's more than, let's just say that one person has a runaway product, maybe that's not validated under what we talk about anyway, right? But if there's a handful of people that are doing, let's say $50,000, we'd have to get close to that volume to even have a chance of ranking organically. Additionally, if you're just getting started, right? Like if you're looking at this as a new Etsy business owner, you don't want $1 million product right off the bat because you're trying to figure out how to ship, how to do customer service, how to do all of those kinds of things. And so if your goal is a little bit short of that, it actually gives you more opportunity. Additionally, Scott, looking in this range, this $3,000 to $10,000 range, there's 3,400 products in this range, or 3,400 listings. Maybe there's some repeats in terms of the actual products. And if there is, Scott, if there's a few repeats in these products, is that a good thing or a bad thing? So let's just say out of these 3,400, there's 3,300 products. But one of the ones we see 2 or 3 listings in this range for. Would you consider that to be a good sign, or would you consider that to be something that's overly competitive?
I think that's a good sign because it shows that there's more people in taking a share. And it's like, you don't just have 1 or 2 that are just outliers that are just, crushing it. So to me, it validates like, oh, this person's selling 100 a month. This person's selling 200 a month. This person's selling 50 a month. Like it shows you there's a little bit of, diversification, I guess, in like other people that are selling. So this way here, it's like, there's more opportunity there for you. And it gives you more, I guess, hope that, okay, I guess I can probably go in there and compete.
Right.
So with that being said, so again, we can keep playing with these filters. The other thing I might want to do is go, you know what? Let's put in here that I want the minimum price to be $25. And now let's see what happens. All right, cool. So now
is there a particular reason you're doing that, Scott?
Yeah. Well, because I think we all know, like, if you're going to make a certain amount of money, yes, you can make it up on volume, but it's easier to do it if you can do it for something that's more expensive, right? And so also, this is also probably going to weed out a lot of digital products, right? Because digital products, for the most part, are going to be under $25. So that's another reason why we would do that. So if we're looking at these right now and we're coming across here and I'm like, oh, I can sort again. So I sorted by monthly revenue here, right? But I can also sort here by sales. And so this one here, it looks like that's a complete mock-up bundle. So that is digital products, by the way, but they're doing a massive bundle. But then here we are with this, a nativity scene, obviously around the holidays, it's going to do well. Then you got here, custom pet blanket. Okay. Probably a product for the pet market, right? And then here we are with another one. This is, let's see, they didn't burn witches. This is probably a spin. I'm thinking, maybe not. No, probably not. This is probably just a witchy type shirt. I was thinking because the new movie Wicked is out. I thought I saw one that someone was creating a Wicked shirt, which you don't want to do, by the way. Then you have a birth flower personalized journal. Then you have here is, let's see here. It's probably going to be something along the lines of like I don't know what it is, but it's probably like a singer or
Looks like Marvel, which again is not something you want to
Exactly.
be doing.
Tennessee football shirt. Then we have custom cufflinks. And then we have, again, another mock-up shop. And then we have here custom embroidery. And then we have, that's probably not going to do well now, but it probably did well in the past because it's kind of over with. We have, again, the MAGA, right? That's probably not going to do as well now as it did before. Then we have a personalized tractor nightlight. Okay, that's for a kid's room. That looks Christmas related. So as you can see, I'm just kind of thumbing through, but I'm doing this after I've already filtered everything down. So this would be an opportunity that if you're looking for a niche, this might help you, but it also could help you to be like, journals, right? You're like, oh, journals are a thing. I wonder if I can create a journal for my niche. And now a journal isn't going to work for everybody's niche, but it could give you an idea like, oh, journals are working. Maybe I should sell one, and do a print on demand version of that. And some of you aren't doing print on demand. Some of you are doing, physical products that you could actually replicate some of this stuff. That's great. But it's really just getting ideas. Then here would be for something for Tennessee football. Now, obviously you got to be careful because if you're going to use logos, you're going to use any of that stuff, you can't do it. I don't think they're doing that here. I can't tell by the thumbnail.
It looks like they did a great job of skirting trademark and copyright with this. They even broke up like Tennessee and Knoxville, and it's like, okay, yeah, we'll go with the orange dog, right? Like the UT colors, but on a dog. So you could get away with this potentially.
And, it looks like it's doing pretty good. 3 months old. 946
sales.
Yeah. 318 monthly sales.
Scott, one thing I like about this approach, if you're looking to add things into the store, because you can just launch a bunch of random things, but the thing that's nice with this product research approach that we're going through right now is you can use this if you have a niche and you're looking for additional products, like you were just saying, but you can also use this to find a high value niche. And looking at this, right, like 4 or 5 of these were pet, 4 or 5 of these were relationships or wedding. And so just scrolling through here, we can start to see where there are repeat things. And that then starts to tell us what a good niche is. And if we start to see that pattern, there's another filter that we can layer on here, which is under that product tab, that furthest left column. And we can say include something like pet or relationship or wedding. And then that will filter even further. So if you start to see a trend or you already have a niche and you want to see what products you've missed in your niche, you could add that filter on top of this. And yes, we're going to go from 3,500 or whatever it was down to a much narrower set, but it's a great way to do a sanity check and say, look, I don't have these things, right? We went from 2,600 after we added in that latest round of filters down to 70, but all of these are going to be hyper niche related. So if we're in the relationship niche or we're in the wedding niche, now all of these are things we should probably have in our shop before we go launch some random things, assuming all of these are relevant and somebody didn't just shove wedding into the keywords in the titles or into the tags, right?
Yeah, for sure. And I mean, so this is a great example, Chris. I'm glad you did that because we started, you saw at the top where we were like anything goes, right? Then we started to filter down, right? And if you guys are just coming in or you're watching this or you skipped ahead or whatever, we're using Everbee. It's the app version. So you literally will just go on your web browser or your browser, and then you will go into the app. It's not a Chrome extension. It's the actual app. And this is something I've been talking a lot about lately because it's a huge advantage now to be able to do this because you're sifting through a lot of data very, very easily with using these filters. And if you guys want to try Everbee, if you haven't tried it yet, definitely recommend it. We are affiliates. You will buy us a cup of coffee. If you go to brandcreators.com/Everbee, you can sign up over there and you can give it a try. And yeah, I would definitely recommend that. So yeah. And if you guys need help with that, we can help you out with that because we got where is that link, Chris? Is that up there? There it is. Yeah. So just, if you want to go there, brandcreators.com/Everbee. All right. And so just kind of getting back to it. So the other thing I want to point out here is if let's say that you are in the wedding niche and you're like, I want to find some additional products. It's a good idea to do that. Because if you do, you're able to now have someone potentially buy more, right? You're going to have someone that's not just going to buy the cufflinks. They're going to buy that and something else for the father of the bride, right? So now they're going to add those together. And now what's really cool is Etsy has been adding the bundle feature, which has been really, really helpful. So that's what we want to always be thinking along those lines. So Chris, I'm going to say right now, we actually plugged in the wedding, but if we took this out of here right now, I could say we found more than our 3 products, but let's just say that we want to go, okay, we're going to find one out of this. And we did a lot of explaining here, but I literally logged in here, did this little filter check, and I can come in here right now and go, okay, that's a winner, right? Why is that a winner? Well, let's pull this up here. It's selling for $36. It's sold $329 in a month. It's doing way more than I shot for $3,000, and here we are at $9,000. So this one product, profit wise, could be $2,500 to $3,000 if they're doing a 30% margin, right? And so that's pretty good. And the crazy thing is, it's only 5 months old, and the shop age is 12 months old. So we just, do you guys realize the power in that right there? We just, instead of you just going randomly on Etsy and going like, trying to find stuff that's selling, like you're like, I don't know, witchy, witch shirt, like, let me see. Right. And then you type it in and then you get everything. Like, how do you know? Coming here, we literally came in and zoomed right in. It actually took us a little bit longer because we started broad instead of us starting in our own niche. And now we're finding only listings that are 18 months or less that are hitting the target numbers that we want to hit. Okay. And this is a perfect example because the shop is 12 months old. It's got 239 listings. It's got 2,718 reviews. It's got 15,612 sales. Okay. And if we go directly back to this, we've got this one shirt. Okay. That's doing well. All right. Now this shop, it says iShirt Lab, probably doesn't just sell witchy stuff. So what I would do is I'd find more of the witchy stuff and then keep drilling in and finding other sellers that might be doing exactly what this person's doing. They're just selling random shirts. And then you're like, I'm going to pull that one shirt out of their library and I'm going to try to create my own version because they proved it to me. Right. And then you're going to find another one and you're going to plug it in. It's just, you're building your product line by other people basically proving that that works, and because it's such a young shop. Anything you want to add to that, Chris?
Yeah, and I think there's 2 ways that we can start to expand that out. The first is by coming in here and drilling down using the additional filters like what's included in the name. The other way to do that is to look at the shop. Now, in that case, I'm willing to bet that they are a t-shirt store, just given the name. Yeah. So we don't necessarily want to go that route. Sure. But rather than starting at Etsy search, using something like Everbee makes a lot more sense, because what we don't want to do is use the spaghetti at the wall approach, right? Even if we are a t-shirt shop, which you and I are not fans of, right? We'd much rather come at this from the niche-based level. I still want to know what t-shirts are working, right? And I can't just go to Etsy and assume that because something has 10,000 searches a month from my keyword research tool, that it's selling. We need to understand what the sales data actually looks like. And Everbee gives us a much closer look at that. And so if we start with something like, let's look at new listings that are doing well, which is what that 18-month filter does. And how do we define well? You can set whatever range you want, but we want to make at least $1,000 a month from this listing, if not a little bit more, which is how we got to that $3,000 to $10,000 range. Yes, then we're only looking at 26 listings. But when we start to expand out, then we can find either the niches that are working well, which here we're seeing like relationships, pets, right? Like I mentioned a minute ago, or the products that are working well that we could turn around and apply to our niche. Hey, here's a really cool matching t-shirt. I never thought about doing a matching t-shirt for my wedding niche before. So maybe we don't do cars, but maybe we do puppies, or maybe we do, like what's a matchy thing for the relationship niche, right? I'm with her, she's with him. Some of those kinds of things, or she's with me, whatever, right? Like the Arrow t-shirt type of deal. And so if we start to look through this, this is a great place to come for ideas, but it's very easy with a few more clicks to come up with 10, 20, or 30. And like we said a minute ago, Scott, if we just typed wedding in here, we could find 70 potential ideas that we all know are not just singles or doubles, but are home run potential products for us.
Mhm.
And the reason that I'm a big fan of that, we've mentioned this a few different times, I'm a big fan of launching as few products as possible to get you to your number. Why?
Yep.
One, it makes your life a heck of a lot easier. If you had one product, you probably don't want to rely on that forever. But if you have 2 or 3 that are that stable basis, you are not going to get overwhelmed with, where did I put that stupid design? How many pages of things do I have in Printify? Scroll, scroll, scroll. Oh, there it is. Wait, no, that's the one with the Phillies on it, or whatever it is, right? And so if we have 3, 5, 10, let's call it 50 that really get us to that number, even if we're not getting $1,000 on each of these products, which all of these have the potential to do, and we know that they do. When it comes to the fulfillment and order management and customer service side of this, our lives are a heck of a lot easier than if we had 500 or 5,000 products, which is a lot of times what you end up seeing, because people either go with the spaghetti at the wall approach, or they go with the, I have a niche, but I'm going to launch every possible product under the sun for that niche without doing this step. You and I, in 20 minutes, let's call it, found 70 potential ideas for the wedding niche, right? Is there any reason not to launch all 70 of those before you just start coming up with things off the cuff? The answer to that is no. Scott, correct me if I'm wrong.
Yeah. No, I mean, you gotta drill in a little bit deeper, before just like, it's, again, spraying that at the wall, but it does allow you to really narrow it down. So it's like, almost like you took a collection of products that have been proven to sell, but you have to start going now down the list of like, okay, what ones do I feel like I could create myself? And then also, which ones do I think would go well with other things that I want to offer? So yeah, I think you can get overwhelming too, because you can find a lot of products, but then it's a matter of like, which ones should you launch?
Mandy said, what about handmade? This is cool for print on demand, but what about handmade? The same process applies.
Yeah.
Right. There's not a huge difference, because you need to just look at what's selling and then decide if you can make it or not. That's the only added layer. The other thing I would say is there's no reason you can't do both. So if you have a good shop and you're selling well with something in handmade, and that's really your passion, and you want to bolt on a little bit of revenue, there's nothing wrong, absolutely nothing wrong with having a few print on demand products, as long as you're happy with their quality. How do you know if you're going to be happy with their quality? Order a sample. Right. And if you're happy with the quality, you're happy with the way that it comes out, there's no reason you can't have both in your store. And I would say, Scott, there's actually 3 things you could have in your store, because you can add some digital products in there as well, if it's applicable to your niche and it's something that you want to play around with. But you shouldn't just launch random things. If you see something in your niche and you say, I'm a handmade store, unless you're a Handmade R Us, right? There's not really a limitation on the types of products that you can have. Does that make sense?
Yeah. And I mean, so let's kind of get into that then. So if we were like, let's say that we went in here and we're like, we make wooden, like maybe wooden shelves or maybe wooden signs, let's do wood signs. Right now, I wouldn't go that broad. I would want to go like wedding wood sign, but let's just go and see what happens. Okay. So we just did that. Our filters are still in there, right? $3,000 to $10,000, $25 is the minimum price. And then if we go across here, let's see here, we had the shop age. Let's see here. Where are you? There we go. Right there.
Yeah, right.
It's all the way over. There it is. 18 months. And the listing age, we have that at 18 months as well. Okay. So everything's stuck. All we did was you just changed wood signs. Okay. So then we can come down here and go, oh, okay, let's see a pet memorial. Okay. Maybe we can create those. Then you have Mr. and Mrs. That's in the wedding. And then we have here, that it looks like a love story. Kind of, I've never seen those before. That's interesting.
That's a timeline. That's a really cool idea, actually.
Yeah. Let's see what else we got here. Custom wood flag with your logo. Another wedding, so we can just keep going down the list. Now it did narrow it down. If you notice, wood signs, I'm only getting 8. Right?
Let's just look at wood. I'm curious to see, because if we have the equipment to make wooden signs,
yep,
and we find that limiting for some reason, which, Scott, that was actually a really good example of where we're seeing multiple products that are doing very well. There were 2 of those pet memorial things from different shops that were both in that criteria, which tells me if I'm making something from wood or I have a pet shop, might be something I want to try to add in.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I mean, this is interesting. A custom personalized wooden tea set toys for kids, right? That's interesting. Then here we are with the pet memorial.
Great shop name, by the way. Confetti Juju.
Yeah. Personalized cutting board, wedding gift. Okay. Let's see. Okay, there's a handmade leather pouch for the knife. Another pet memorial. Another looks. Oh, is that a name? Growth chart. Little growth chart. There you go. Personalized large wooden kids letters. That's interesting, right? That's not print on demand. There's another set right there, right? And I mean, they're doing, gosh, let's go over here real quick. They're doing, it's a $35 product, $3,800 a month, right? So pretty good, 112 monthly sales. Here's these other ones, $3,000. But see, now if we didn't put the numbers in here, we would have gotten stuff that wasn't really selling or that might be selling $100 a month. We only want to see the ones that are succeeding at our numbers, right?
Right.
That's what we want to do. So yeah, so that's what we would do there, just to kind of drill down. Is you're just playing here, but it's taking all of the listings that are in this database and is literally sifting through by you applying these filters, which I think is crazy because it's so much data that it's got to go through. And it's pretty quick, honestly. It's pretty quick. So let's drill in to another one here, Chris. And I think, let's see. Is there something that anyone put in the comments that we could play around with?
Let me get back up to the niche conversation.
I thought I saw Christian.
Christian was another good one.
Okay. Same numbers. I threw the same numbers in there. So we have, looks like sweatshirt for engagement. Then we have here, Bible verse jar. There you go.
Okay. So for people asking about handmade, how easy is that to make?
Yeah.
Right. Like, yes, in this case, it looks like they're engraving the top of that, but the rest of that is like, can you buy a jar? Right. So even if it's not the craft or the thing that you love, what you're selling is a handmade product and it makes sense for the niche, this is a really easy thing to add on. And
if we look at the shop name, Chris, it looks like that's what they're doing, like Grace, Glory, Praise, right? Yeah. 9 months old, 34 listings, 150 reviews, 849 sales.
Scott, hit analyze shop for me real quick there.
I got to share that instead. So hang on a minute.
I'm just curious because they have 34 listings. I'm curious what else is working for them.
Yeah, hang on. Not letting me get there. Hang on. Let's see. Share that instead. Okay, cool. Can you see that, Chris?
So they're doing about $7,200 a month.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. Yeah. Averaging 25 sales a listing, which is not as high as some of the other ones that we've seen, but it's not bad. This is a 9-month-old shop. And it looks like the thing that's absolutely dominating for them is that jar.
Yep. It's not great, but it's another little product that they got there, and it's a new shop, right? So it's like, yeah, and they got stickers, right? So they're adding stickers. I think they have an opportunity for shirts, right? So that would be like a shirts thing that you would want to do. Here it is. She's Strong sweatshirt. Got a candle, some earrings. So yeah, I think they have a lot of potential, but they're new. They're 8 months old and they're doing well on that one product, but I would build off of that product for sure. Without a doubt. So let me switch back over here. There you go, guys. There's another product we found. That one there took us less than 10 minutes, right? It was like, let's go look at Christian stuff. Boom, bang. There we are. You know what I mean? It's like, yeah, we already had the filters applied. But if we go back here, it's very simple. You just come in here, you say, okay, my max price, I want to set it at $25, or maybe yours is going to be $30, right? If we change this to 30, what does that do? That brings us down to 15 listings now. Okay.
So which is interesting because the other one was only 21, right? So it doesn't really bring us that far down.
No.
No. To make an extra $5 or more.
Yeah. So here we are. How lucky are we hoodie? Then we've got here, funny. That was Halloween. And then we got here, God is greater than the highs and lows embroidered. That's a hoodie. If the stars were made, so these are all Christian based. So that's what we're looking for, right? So that's just from doing that and doing this, monthly revenue, 10,000 to 3,000. And then let's keep scrolling over here. And then we're looking at the, you can even do variate. I mean, there's so many different settings you can do, but I wouldn't even play with all of them. I would play with just the shop age, is what I would be most interested in. That's why I said it that way. And it's probably lagging a little bit because we're doing this here live. So the listing ages are here, but we did the shop age. So that's going to make it where the listing is going to be within that parameter.
Well, and I know the question we're going to get is, well, why didn't you put a listing age on it? Well, because we know if the shop is newer than 18 months,
exactly,
all the listings are newer than 18 months. If we wanted to get really
exactly
nitpicky with it, we could add a listing age on here and say anything within the last 6 months. But if we're doing that, I don't necessarily care as much about the shop age, because if it's a new listing, that's also relevant. But we want to know the shop.
We can do that though. We can go, okay. Oh, that's reviews. Crap. I didn't want to do reviews. I wanted to do listing.
Maximum of 6 reviews.
Yeah. So here we are. Right. So we just did that by, fixing that up there. And we've got this necklace. We've got this sweatshirt. We've got that one there. We wouldn't count this one here. We've got a nativity set. This here, we've got Jesus walking on water canvas. Then here we've got those sweatshirts. So that one there, that one's interesting. I'm going to click over here.
Was that the same pattern? That looks very similar to what that other shop had on their keychains, that pattern.
Mm-hmm.
So that's kind of interesting. Just the
selling
font.
For $63. That's an expensive sweatshirt.
So Scott, we get this question all the time. Okay, I see a sweatshirt, or I see a t-shirt. There's no way I'm ever going to make money on it. $63, right? Like, they're making money on this sweatshirt. They're not trying to sell it for 18. They know what they have. And they know that this is a niche-based store, right? Faithful Love Gifts. I'm willing to bet this is a faith-based gifting store, right? So we have the Christianity angle here. 16 months old. They've done 2,900 sales, 460 reviews, and 47 listings. So it doesn't look like they have a bunch of home runs, but they have at least 1 or 2 things that are doing pretty well for them.
Yeah, no, I mean, that's great. So, I mean, there's another one, right? So we just literally found 2 products for the Christian niche that you could launch. You could, if you wanted to do the mason jar thing, if you wanted to do a hoodie like that we just showed. And I mean, you can just keep going and you can go, okay, is there something we can do here with Jesus walking on water? Maybe we can do something there, even with some AI art. I don't know. You know what I mean? So we can play around with all of this stuff. And again, we can play around with more settings if we want to. We can say, okay, well, you know what? We're okay if we sell something for 25. Let's see what that does. Okay, now we bumped it up to 12 listings instead of 7, right? This one here looks like more for the holidays. This one here, okay, that's religious sweatshirt. That one's $28. All right, and that one there, if I click on that one, let's click over. That's 2 months old. 2 months old. It sold $6,664 is the monthly estimated revenue. Total sales 328 and 214 monthly sales, 31 reviews, 731 favorites. It's converting at 45.87%. So whoever's looking for a religious sweatshirt is landing on here and buying it pretty much. So that what that
all
means,
of them.
guys, is
Yeah.
for 100 people that come to this listing, almost 46 people buy it. That's a really high conversion. Now, I don't know. Are they sending their own traffic there? I don't know. Because that seems super high.
It's about 9 times higher than normal. Not that that's a bad thing, and we'd want to look at this listing. Obviously, it seems to be a t-shirt store given the name, but it's definitely something we want to take a look at. And it's not something, Scott, that's seasonal, right? A lot of times you may put this filter on and say, okay, 2 months. Oh, it's about Christmas, or oh, it's about Halloween, and they had existing shop traffic or whatever. But in this case, even if they had existing shop traffic, this is an evergreen thing. There's no reason for people to be buying this right now necessarily. Because it's not like they're trying to get this before Christmas, right?
Exactly. Exactly. I think the other thing to pay attention to too, this is the other thing that Everbee gives us. And by the way, guys, if you guys are not using Everbee, we're going to have a little shameless plug here. Definitely check it out. You can test it for free, but if you want access to all of the data, there is a growth plan. If you go to brandcreators.com/Everbee, again, that's brandcreators.com/Everbee. You should see it pop up on your screen. If you go to that, you can sign up. And if you do go through that link, you'll buy us a cup of coffee and we appreciate it. But you get this stuff too. Like the tags are built right in here of what they're using. So you might look at it and go, oh, Christian apparel. I'm not using that. Oh, Bible verse top. I'm not using that. Faith apparel. Not using that. Maybe religious sweatshirt. Maybe I should get scripture shirt. Okay. Christian gift. Okay. So I'm getting ideas without me just sitting here staring at the screen going like, what else could I put in there for a tag? Right. I'm getting intel right from this. And that's super important. And it's also, it can give you other ideas for other products potentially, right? Like a scripture shirt. Maybe you're going to do more of a shirt that's not just like 2, words. It might be a full scripture, and you're like, oh, maybe I'll try those, and I'll give them a shot, or maybe I'll research those. Maybe it'll lead you in the research, the researching that particular item, right? Or that particular search, because these are technically search. That's what people are searching for. That's your keywords. And it can help you pop up for when someone's looking for that. They do say, Etsy, that is, that tags matter. It matters for SEO and it matters for your Etsy ads, because they literally tell you in there, if you're not using certain tags, they're going to recommend some tags for you. So they clearly work. All right, Chris, I think that was good. I think we found more than 3 products, and I think we exceeded there with our results. And this is always fun, guys. If you found this valuable, let us know in the comments. And if you want us to do this more often, let us know that as well. We might even just do a segment every week where we just maybe open the laptop and spend 15 minutes and we kind of explore and kind of come up with some new products to kind of show you again the process. It's also good for us to keep in practice because we're doing it ourselves, but it's also kind of cool to do it on the fly. So, but yeah. All right. Let's dig in, Chris. We've got a couple of other things that we wanted to talk about, and I am going to set this up right now. And I'm going to try to get my screen so it will share. And there we are. All right. I'm going to get rid of some of this other stuff. And, all right, cool. All right. You ready, Chris? All right. All right. So there was an article that I just stumbled on, and, well, it goes to show you, you can pretty much create a nice little side hustle with almost anything on Etsy. And this article was on MSN, and it says Elon Musk creates crazy Etsy side hustle making bank. And so I'm going to go ahead and share that, and let's go ahead and let's see what you think there, Chris. So basically what is happening here, and you can see here, Elon Musk's support for Trump has created hot Etsy side hustle for this aquarium worker. All right. So I'm just going to kind of skim here a little bit, but I know what they're talking about because I saw this, and I don't know if they'll show us a picture. They're not showing us a picture, but basically what I believe.
If you hit that blue button down there that says continue reading, I think they had an image.
Oh, okay.
MSN likes to hide the important things.
There we go.
Under that silly button.
Okay. So yeah, so here it is. So basically what I gathered just by skimming this article is we have looks like here Mad Puffer stickers. Okay. So it's look at this. Etsy's #1 shop for Tesla drivers. All right. Chris, have you heard about this?
I have not.
You have not. Well, I'm kind of curious. And basically,
I'm assuming that's a mention of the fact that he works at the Waikiki Aquarium, Mad Puffer, like puffer fish. But I'm curious to see what all they have.
You're absolutely right. But the actual, and they're not showing us a picture in here, I don't believe, unless I keep scrolling. Oh yeah, there we go. So the anti-Elon Tesla Club, which is hysterical. But I've actually seen some where they are, where they were more or less saying, I still love you, Elon, but I don't love, who you supported or something like that. It was like something along those lines. So they were kind of like hating on Elon, but they were putting it on their car. I was like, I own a Tesla and I'm not going to put a bumper sticker on my car, even if I did, think that. But there's people buying this stuff up. So it's just funny. Like here, it's very similar, anti-Elon Tesla Club. And it's got 20 in the cart, and it's looking like it's being sold in a different country. It's not in our, where is that, Chris?
I was just thinking, what is NT as a currency? New Zealand, maybe?
Oh, it could be. Yeah, it looks like
New
it's
New Taiwan dollars. That's just whoever took that screenshot apparently lives in Taiwan.
Got it. Okay, so they're not,
but they do have English-based pricing,
yeah,
or American-based pricing, right? So I actually pulled them up on my side here, Scott. If we want to take a look at that here in a minute.
Yeah, take a look at it. Pull it up.
All right. Mad Puffer. When you can see that.
There we are. So yeah,
so we can see it's both pro and anti-Elon, right? It's kind of the anti-Elon Musk club for my sticker, or for my Tesla. I bought this before Elon went crazy. Shut up, Elon. Shut up and make Teslas, right? So a little bit of everything. And then we have some of the more fish-based stuff, which I guess is probably where he started, given the shop name. And then he took.
Can you run the numbers on his shop? I'm just curious.
Yeah.
But it looks like there's a bunch of people, they have their stuff in their cart. So I'm just curious. And it might have calmed down after the election for sure. But $7 stickers. I mean,
it's not too bad. Making a couple $100 a
month. And again, they called it a side hustle. So, what's this guy making? He probably made a lot more when it was, when we were
a couple weeks ago.
Yeah, when we're in the heart of the election. Here's the deal. I think, okay, fine. Like someone's trying to create some extra money. And I'd be curious in the comments, are you doing this for a side hustle? Or are you doing this for it to be a full-time gig for you? Because I do think that there is opportunity to just do a side hustle. And if side hustle is your thing, I still think you should pick a niche and try to serve that niche. But I also know like there is opportunities that come like that, but that's going to be kind of like the mask, right? Like the mask in the pandemic days, right? It's like, it's going to be here, but it's going to probably fizzle out. I bet you that sticker is probably not going to do as well, months later or years later. So he's going to have to try to find the next thing, right? What is the next thing that you can ride that trend? Because that's all it is. Now, if this guy was someone that created stuff for the Tesla, well, then that makes sense, right? Because now he's kind of like, hey, you might be a Tesla owner, but you're anti, Elon, but you're still a Tesla owner. Okay, here's a sticker for you. Oh, you're pro Elon. Here's a sticker for you. And oh, by the way, I sell customized things for the drawer insert inside of the Tesla, or I sell, I don't know, steering wheel covers or that fit the Tesla. Like there's another guy that we had on one of our Etsy shop audits that does that for, I believe it's the Toyota 4Runner, right? And he has a whole shop that he customizes with 3D printing, and he makes certain pieces that either cover something or an accessory. So there is an opportunity there for that. I just thought that this article was interesting because a guy took advantage of the Elon, buzz and capitalized on it. But again, if that's something that you're looking to do, I'm not going to say you shouldn't. I'm just saying like, that's not going to be a long-term business play. It's going to be more of like, you're going to hop on a trend, try to find the next trend, try to find the next trend, and try to find the next trend. So it wouldn't be a steady side hustle like you're going to, go and drive for Uber or something like that. So thought it was interesting. Let us know in the comments. Are you side hustling or are you trying to turn this thing into a business? Let us know in the comments. All right, Chris. Yeah, I thought that was interesting.
Now I'm over here going down a rabbit hole of funny car magnets. I have not run the numbers on this one yet, Scott, because everybody logged me out. but I need to share one with you before we move on to the next one, just for
Yeah, I
everybody.
got logged out earlier too, and I had to re-log in. I might have did an update or something.
So let me know. There you go. I know, but it's paid off, right? So just making fun of the fact that you have a Tesla Cybertruck, right? And this is a good example of something where maybe we're not going after anything that's trademark infringing, but people who are Tesla lovers will like this, just like the Jeep culture will love a lot of the Jeepy things, right? My other car is a rubber ducky or something like that.
Yeah.
There's a lot of funny things that we can do without saying Chevrolet, 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 right? Jeep, 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 Tesla, Tesla, Tesla. And so it's interesting to see that there are people making a couple bucks on some of these kinds of things. And I'm curious if it'll let me actually run the numbers on this now, or if it's going to kick me out again. Right. This one hasn't sold any yet, probably because there's only a handful of people that have Cybertrucks. But we can see there's a whole culture popping up around this. And if we took a look at that search results page, you can just type in Tesla, or I typed in anti-Elon Musk as the search term.
Yeah.
And that's how I found the Cybertruck one. Right. And so you can take one of those things and turn that into 4, 5, 6 ideas, which is kind of cool. The fact that somebody's doing that as a side hustle to their puffer fish, I think is interesting as well. Right.
Yeah. All right, cool. We got one more, and this does have to do with Etsy once again. And this is going to come to us from Nerd Wallet. So I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to set this up. All right. So I ran across another article that was asking the question, is Etsy the right platform for business? And really, they're trying to decide, is this something that a business should be considering? And what I think what they're saying here is, if you are already in e-commerce, should you add Etsy, or is Etsy a platform you should even consider putting your business on? So I'm going to go ahead and bring this article up, and Chris and I are going to go through it. So let's see here. Here we are. So yeah, let me go ahead and thumb through this, Chris. And I was kind of surprised that NerdWallet actually put this out, because it's not typical, I don't believe, that they do something on that's just clearly business related. I mean, they do a lot of finance, but I guess it would have something to do with finance. So
yeah, it's people trying to make a side hustle income, right? That's kind of how they're looking at it.
Yeah. So, I mean, basically what they're saying here is, like, they're giving all of the things, like, why Etsy could work for you, why you might want to consider other options, right? Growing your business may require you to build your brand outside of Etsy, as diversifying your sales channels can help sellers reach more customers. After opening her Etsy shop in 2019, Paulamy, is that how you would say it? I don't know. I'm going to try. Waited until 2021 to launch her own site, having proven that her products could attract buyers. Then she invested in branding and marketing to build her Etsy success. When you have an established brand or you're growing, that's when you need to own your own website, she says. Chris, have we ever said that before? Yeah, let's give
Rudy clap. Rudy clap for
Paulamy
or Paulamy. That is exactly the approach that we take, Scott, which is interesting to me. And I think that paragraph, if you get nothing else out of this, I know an English teacher says that's not a paragraph because it's only 2 sentences, but I'll call it a paragraph, is probably the most powerful portion of this article, because they're saying, look, it's a great place to get started, but here's something you want to consider down the road, right?
Yep.
And if that's where we're getting started, what are the things we need to think about, and when do we need to do them? That timeline, Scott, is pretty darn close to what you and I have talked about, right? We're going to spend our first 12 to 18 months really getting our feet under us. If you're a little more tech savvy, or you have somebody that you trust that's a little more tech savvy, maybe you start a website before then. But if you get those first 12 to 18 months, you start to build the foundation on Etsy, then it becomes a lot easier to be able to pay for the help that you need, or pay for the things that you need to start building out the website and doing marketing outside of Etsy. It's also more than long enough to, one, validate that it's not just going to make you $200 a month, and 2, know that you're going to have that steady income to be able to do the other things. Know that you have enough customers inside Etsy to support the things you're trying to start to do outside of Etsy. So that to me makes perfect sense. And that's almost bang on the timeline you and I have talked about in the past.
Yeah, no, for sure. And I mean, so they go on to say, are your products handmade? So it looks like she has a jewelry business, and it looks like it's, let's see, side hustle to her career in corporate. So she's a corporate. and doing a little jewelry business and handmade. Okay. Now, again, this could be print on demand. This could be handmade. This could be digital. Doesn't really matter. What they're saying is they're validating that, yes, it's a good platform to get started on, like we've said, because there's less things that you have to worry about. People don't realize when you start on a site by yourself, you got to go find the traffic. You got to convert the traffic. You got to also understand optimization. You got to understand how to hook up internal emails that are automated, that if someone adds something to their cart and it gets triggered, that, you know, you could send out an email to them or notify them. Like all that stuff, people don't realize how much work is involved to get all that stuff up. So why go through all of that if you don't prove that it actually can work? And I think that's what they're saying here. But now it does say why you might want to look elsewhere. And I'm just going to skim through this. When it comes to Etsy, Etsy offers exposure to buyers in more than 200 countries, but even the most beautiful products won't sell if shoppers have other priorities. Angie thinks Etsy shoppers tend to have an appreciation for handmade and are prepared to pay higher prices, whereas people go on eBay to get a bargain. I agree with that. I think Etsy is probably, though, starting to, because there is a lot more people selling just, you know, I don't want to say it, but crap, you know, it's like, it's becoming a little bit more polluted. And I think people are starting to see that stuff's on there. It's kind of like Temu, right? It's like they're seeing that. And then it's like, you expect that from Temu, but you don't expect that from Etsy. So I just think that moving forward, Etsy does have to be careful with that. And if you are a seller, understand that, yes, the platform has really made it known that that's what the type of, you know, person that they want to attract. People that want a gift that's personalized, that'll pay a little bit more.
And Scott, that's something Etsy's tripled down on different times this year. You know, they launched gift mode, and then actually the last quarterly call that they had, so it would have been the Q3 earnings call. The CEO got asked a question about how do you earn more even if you don't bring in, you know, new buyers or new sellers or whatever. And essentially their answer to that was, our sellers undervalue their products. And that's a fancy corporate way of asking people to charge more. How does Etsy make more with that? Well, they take a percentage. But one of the things that they have noticed is that higher things that are valued more highly sell better on the platform than things that are valued less highly. Lowly isn't a word that makes sense there, but things that have less value, right? Yeah. And I think one of the interesting things that I took out of that came from a question that you and I get all the time, which goes back to the sweatshirt conversation that we had previously, which is, look, how do I make any money selling sweatshirts? And the answer is, you price it at a place where people who are not the only consideration that they have, and that's what they alluded to in the NerdWallet article, is price consideration. Well, we need to price ourselves out of that because you're never going to win that race. And the NerdWallet article, Scott, said something to the effect of, if they want a bargain, they go to eBay. If they want a high quality handmade thing, they go to Etsy. Etsy's PR department could not have written that better themselves, right? That's exactly the positioning that Etsy wants to have. And I think it's something that a lot of Etsy sellers miss out on, because they see a lot of things on the platform that are $12 t-shirts or $4 coffee mugs. And they go, I can't compete with that, so I'm not going to launch one. And rather than competing on price, if you're competing on quality and the perception of value, meaning you're targeting a niche and saying, hey, this is for you if you're really into adorable puppies, or this is for you if you're looking for the perfect wedding gift, rather than being worried about price and getting everybody to buy our stuff and losing money and trying to make up losses of money at scale, we can charge higher prices, create a higher perception of value, especially within the Etsy ecosystem, and know that there are Etsy customers that are looking for that. And also know, given Etsy themselves is saying this repeatedly this year, that the higher value products are something that they're really going to be looking for. It's something Etsy wants out of Etsy sellers, is for you to create more value. So don't fall into that price trap. Make sure that you're charging what you need to charge to make money. And if you're using a platform like Etsy, it's much easier to charge a higher price than it is somewhere else like eBay, because Etsy's marketing is all about handcrafted, handmade. It's just for you. It's personalized. That has a higher perceived value. So we can charge higher prices, and a lot of people haven't done it yet. So that really stuck out to me, because it's something that article pointed out and Etsy has doubled and tripled down on this year a couple different times.
Yeah, no, that's a good point. So let's wrap it up here, though, because I mean, we can go through the entire thing, but, you know, are you willing to learn about SEO? right? So yes, you're going to need to know on Etsy how theirs works, but then if you're going to go outside of that, you're going to have to figure out what it takes to get traffic outside of that using SEO. So SEO, you're going to hear that a lot. Search engine optimization, yes, it's going to take a little bit of learning.
All right, but they're con here, right? And if you guys didn't figure this out, this is just a fancy way of saying pros and cons, right? They're saying why it could work for you, why you might want to look somewhere else. Scott, is Etsy SEO complex, difficult, or just confusing, in your opinion?
Well, I think it's pretty straightforward. The thing I think that's confusing for a lot of people, and even honestly, even when you're doing it, it's not like you're just going to learn exactly what you got to do. You're going to do exactly what you want to do of what you can control, but then it is up to the algorithm and really now up to the AI to decide where it's going to land. And that goes for any platform. It goes for YouTube, it goes for, Etsy, it goes for eBay, it goes for whatever, And I think we just have to understand, like, there's things that we can control, not hard, right? We've got a full SEO guide that we go over that. If you want a copy of that, by the way, just put SEO in the comments. But no, it's not hard. But it doesn't mean just because we do everything on the surface that you're going to automatically appear at the top of the search result, right? There's some things there. One of them, you and I talk a lot about, is getting sales, right? And then once you get sales, let's say that you're getting sales and someone else is getting sales and you're getting about the same sales. What else do they have to measure now? Conversion rate, right? Now, we can look at all of that and then you can go, okay, wait a minute. What if they do an algorithm update? Stuff changes. We've seen that this year. They did a major change. We lost a lot of traffic. Still shaking stuff out. Chris, has that ever happened in Google? Has that ever happened? Anybody ever have traffic where they were getting first page and then overnight it just went away and it took maybe 3 months to get back, or maybe they never got back?
Yeah, that has definitely never happened with other search engines. And they definitely didn't use adorable animal names to make it sound less scary, like panda or penguin, or, any of those kinds of updates, or literally every update that Google has ever done or Amazon has ever done, or a search engine, which is any e-commerce marketplace has ever done. And we don't have control over that. And the thing that stuck out to me here, Scott, is they're saying some small scale sellers may not be able to justify the time. There's not a lot of time that goes into SEO. And I think this is a misconception. The time goes into the listing creation. And if we do the listing creation process correctly, it's not like 7 hours, right? There is some work involved, but there should be some work involved in these things. Like, if you could just automate this entire process, then everyone would do that and everyone would make $10 million, right? We have to spend the time, energy, and effort to understand how it works. Going back to the algorithm is not all of that complex to understand. Etsy tries to make it as confusing as possible, but it really comes down to, do you qualify, right? So do you have a keyword that's related to the thing that the person is searching for? And then if you qualify, how qualified are you versus the other listings that qualify? So if we show you, are you more likely to sell than my listing or less likely to sell than my listing? And they go down through the whole 1,000 listings that qualify for that search term. And that's how they create the search engine rankings, right? This is not difficult to understand. Where people get caught up is, I would say, Scott, even before the SEO process, they get caught up in the product research process, which is why we just created a video on that. And they get confused on where their time should go, because people really dial in and they go, oh, I have to go in and tweak my tags. And if you're saying it takes a ton of time, that's probably the approach that you're using. The other interesting thing in there is they said, a potential negative of Etsy, and Scott, I want to get your thoughts on this really quick, is that their ads operate on a cost per click basis versus a cost per sale basis. I'm not aware of any major platform that has a cost per sale advertising platform, right? Amazon gives you that number, but they operate on cost per click. Facebook operates on a variation of that where they hide how they're actually charging you for it, right? Their cost per 1,000 impressions realistically, but the number that they show you is your cost per conversion. So it's not really any different. Is that a negative to you, or is that just a fact of the advertising world, the way that ads are being run?
No, that's just the way that the ads work. And it's like, you're going to learn that. I think if you're new, you're not going to realize that yet. But then once you start to play in the online digital marketing space, you're going to realize that that's very common. And actually, to me, it's great, because a lot of times you think when you first start, you're like, oh, if my product is displayed, I'm going to get charged. But you don't actually get charged unless someone clicks. Now it's up to you to have a really good product and a really good listing that converts them to a buyer. That's why whenever we're looking at listings, we're looking at, okay, how well does it convert? Oh, it converts at 2%. Great. Can we get it to 4%? We double our sales. Great. Okay. So I would say, yeah, I mean, again, we're kind of like looking at it as a beginner that doesn't know that. And if you are a beginner, that's why they did this little comparison with this site. So Chris, let's finish up here, because there's a whole bunch more that we can go through. I don't think we need to go through. Like, do you know how much Etsy charges for fees? I mean, that's common sense, right? Like we have to really understand that, yes, there's going to be fees, and people get upset with fees, but listen, there's fees in anything. If right now you're going to go off and go, I'm going to go get my own traffic on Facebook, guess what? There's fees. You know what I mean? They're going to charge you, right?
Right. And by the way, they don't use a cost per click model, right? By default. So, you know, in that case, you do get charged when your ad is shown. I'm going to do Shopify. That's the other one that we hear. And they actually had a price comparison. They're like, oh yeah, by the way, Shopify requires a subscription. So there's not necessarily an ideal place to go. The question is what works for you. And I think, Scott, for people looking at starting an e-commerce business in 2025, what are your thoughts on starting with Etsy? We mentioned that timeline of getting to your own shop. We mentioned a few of those kinds of things. What are your thoughts on getting started with Etsy and then doing that as an opportunity in 2025?
I mean, that's the way, if I was starting over again, right? And we've started multiple e-commerce brands, and typically we're going to be, I say we, like whoever we're starting it with. Like first I did it with myself, right? It was me, myself, and my wife. And then from there, we had a partner that was a neighbor of ours. We started a brand there, and Chris and I have been involved in that. And so it's like all of the things that we're ever doing, we're generally looking at a platform. We're like, what platform is the best opportunity for maybe this niche? And, you know, Etsy is, out of all of them right now that I know of that I've tried, is pretty much the easiest, because it's literally, I mean, it's almost too simple, because there could be some more things that they could add to make it a little bit more advanced, to even, you know, to not overwhelm you. But it's very, very basic, which also makes it nice because there's not a lot of things you can screw up, but it does tap you in to buyers. Like this is a search engine for buyers. People are going there to shop. They're not going there to just, oh, I just want to go there and kill some time. Maybe they're killing time by looking at stuff, but they're going to start hearting things and, you know, adding things to their favorites so they can kind of go back to it and kind of, you know, remember what they looked at, and then they're going to buy, right? And then once their credit card's in there, they're going to buy from there every single time that they are looking for a gift or they're looking for something. So to me, it's a great opportunity for someone to start, because it removes all of that other stuff, right? Getting hosting, getting a website up, you know, making sure that your, you know, your web address is connected and your DNS settings and all of the things, right? We don't have to worry about that. We just literally got to sign up for an account and go through the basics of getting set up, and then learning a little bit of SEO within their system, in their platform, and start making products. That's what I love about it. So I would say, if you are thinking about using it, whether you're already up and running and you want to add Etsy, definitely. Why wouldn't you? If you're just starting, Etsy is a great place to start, because like I just said, it removes all of that stuff. And then you can decide, okay, when is the time, if the time is even ever there for you, because you might be like, you know what, I'm good right now with where I'm at. I don't want to go full time here. I just want to do a part-time thing, little side hustle. It's easy. I can maintain it, super easy. Then do that. If you want to then grow it, then yeah, start learning and building a new skill set, because that's what you're going to be doing. You're going to build another skill set of how to, you know, how to do outside traffic. That's going to be the big one, right? And then all of the logistical things inside of the website to get things connected and plugins and all of this stuff. So I would say, yes, Chris, I would start on Etsy, even if I was starting over again today. And then I would allow that data to tell me, okay, when and if, you know, I should go on out and create this other e-commerce store, basically my own platform. All right. So I think, Chris, I think that was good. And guys, if you have any questions for us, whether it's now or if you're watching this in the replay, drop them in the comments. But yeah, I think we pretty much nailed it with the product research. I really enjoy doing that. I know that some people already said, yeah, I would love you to do one research segment every single week, because every time I see it, I get it a little bit more. And it's, to me, it is something that you're building a skill there too. It's like we talk about that, whether you're building an email list and you're learning email marketing, whether you're learning SEO, whether you're learning Etsy ads, you're learning. And from when you're learning, that's where we can build that skill set. And that skill set is something you're going to take with you forever. There's things that I've learned 20 years ago that I'm still using today. Right. So it's like build the skill set and then take it slow though. You don't have to a lot of people want to build the thing, right? This big, massive thing before they've even broke ground, right? We got to break the ground. We got to be able to understand it at our own pace, but we also got to continue to learn, but also not learn so much that we get overwhelmed or we think we got to do everything and then we get all stressed out. So that would be my recommendation there. Anything you want to add to that, Chris, before we wrap up and head on out of here? Grab some lunch.
I wanted to answer this really quickly, Scott. So sure. Leslie said, those filters are cool. That product research process you showed is amazing. But does that mean only 12 listings are making $1,000 profit? No. Right? I had to get real close for that one. So a couple things with that. We layered on a bunch of filters. We put a maximum revenue on there. And if you took that cap off, you'd see a whole bunch more. But also, we use that $3,000 as a minimum, assuming the high end of what they would be making is around 30%. It's not uncommon, especially if you're handmade, to have 50, 60, 70% margins on things. And if you're charging prices that you should be, you can see products that are much less than that. The other thing is we also added in that 18-month filter for shop age. So any shop that's been around for a while, even if the listing was new, we're ignoring completely, because what we're looking for are true outliers. And from there, then we can say, ooh, that's a really cool idea, and jump into the product research from a different way. So just because you're only seeing 12 or 24, when you add in all of those filters and then search for your niche like we did, does not mean those are the only products. The other thing to keep in mind with that, Scott, is, okay, if our goal is to make $1,000 profit a month, that doesn't all have to come from one product. That's what we were looking for today. But even if you had 2 or 3 products, you could drop those filters to $300 on the bottom end and $1,000 for the top end of what things are selling for, and find 2 or 3 products that are in that range and get yourself to that $1,000. What we were looking for were home runs, but I'm okay with singles, doubles, triples, right? I'm okay with an inside the park home run or a bunt to get to first base. I don't care how we start making those sales, but what you're looking for is consistency. And if we can do that with only a handful of products, that's even better. So when you see fewer listings in that portion of the video, it's not because there's not more products that are doing that well. It's because we layered a whole bunch of things on to say, if it's working for this product, there's no reason I can't create a version for this product, for my niche, or of this product for the same niche that will do something similar. Does that make sense, Scott?
Yeah, no, absolutely. So I want to wrap up here and again say, if you guys have any questions, drop them in the comments, whether you're watching this on the replay or not, and we will do our best to get those answered. But someone did put in there, Lady Oz, I believe it was, says, I'd love an episode where you guys audit listings rather than our shops. I mean, point out good listings from bad ones and what works, what doesn't work. It's kind of what we do on the audits, but the audits is more of a full 10,000 foot view of everything and the niche and all of that stuff. But yeah, I mean, I would be game to do that. And you know what, if we want to kind of throw it out there right now, maybe we'll do that next week, where we'll maybe pull up a handful of listings. We won't be able to go too deep into it, but we can look at the listings and be brutally honest. If you're okay with that, and if you would like us to do that, just put your listing in the comments or email us, support@brandcreators.com. Just go there and put that in there.
I'd say, Scott, even in advance of that, and I think it's a great idea to pull in a bunch of people's listings, but I would say, if you are looking for the way that Scott and I look at listings, we put it together in a really easy to understand thing. And there's actually 2 volumes of this now, right? I don't have the other link handy here, but we looked at some of the top converting listings. Although, Scott, after seeing that listing today that was converting at 45%, we might have to rethink our criteria. But what we were looking for are the listings that converted highly over time. So 5% or more over time, and generated, I forget what the minimum volume was, but it was a few thousand sales before we said, okay, that's a solid number. And then what makes those listings work? What made those listings not work if they didn't hit that criteria? So what are they doing that we should look at? And we turned that into a full breakdown of those listings and then created a checklist for you to be able to check that against your own listings. More than happy to come on and do that with live for people. But if you want that criteria, the same way that you and I probably next week, now that Lady threw that out, are going to come on and do that live, you can apply this to your own listing using the Conversion Maximizer Playbook, volume 1 or volume 2, or using both. That checklist is going to be in there. So you can say, okay, here's what the high quality listings are doing. Am I doing these things? And I think the real piece of takeaway information is that you have to be brutally honest, which Scott and I are. And so I'm curious, Scott, for the people who want us to analyze those listings, I want you to go through that checklist. There is a small fee associated with that. I think the Conversion Maximizer Playbook is like $10 because we paid a designer to do it. But go through that checklist, score yourself, and then let us know what your score is after we give you a score. Because I'm curious to see what people think their listings are versus what you and I think their listings are, having gone through a few hundred of these now to find the ones that met the criteria for volume 1 or volume 2 of the Conversion Maximizer Playbook.
Yeah, no, I think that's a great idea. Yeah, I think that's a great idea. So if you guys want to grab a copy of that, just go to the link that Chris gave you. We'll also have it linked up in the description. But yeah, that would be fun. So yeah, if you are interested in that, you can email us support@brandcreators.com and send us your listing. And then you have to be okay with us obviously doing it live. And then we can pull it through our own set of filters and our own checklist, and we can kind of let you guys know, what we think, and maybe help you improve it so you can get better conversions. All right. So guys, that's going to wrap it up for today for this live stream. I want to thank you guys so much for hanging out with us. This has been always a great time for us. And Chris and I are actually in the same building today, actually in the same house. And we're going to be hanging out here. Maybe go grab a little bit of lunch. So I want to thank you guys. And if you guys do want to check out Everbee, make sure that you do, because the stuff that we did in the beginning with all of the filters and all that stuff, that's built right into the web app. So if you go to brandcreators.com/Everbee, you can sign up over there. And I do recommend you get the growth plan, because that is the one that unlocks everything, all the data, all the filters. And you saw how fast it was, right? Like as far as like just apply a filter, boom, it sifts through, add a filter, it sifts through, add a different keyword, finds it. It's pretty responsive. So I'm pretty excited about that. And they're just constantly improving that. So definitely check it out. All right, guys, that's it. That's going to wrap it up. As always, take care, take action, have an awesome, amazing day. And we'll see you right back here in the next episode. Take care, guys.